WION Broadband Olympic Edition, partnered by Kia Sonet. Wild by design. Get ready for a new level of wild. Poker Stars, India's home of online poker.
Hello and welcome to the final episode of the WION Broadband Olympic Edition with me, Vijay Singh. Now, over the course of the series, we have been looking at India's best performances at the Olympic Games. And today, we're going to look back at London 2012, where India won a record 6 medals. I am joined by Gagan Narang, who is a veteran of 4 Olympic Games and who won India's first medal at those London Games. He joins me from Hyderabad, and also joining me is Joydeep Karmakar from Kolkata. Joydeep narrowly missed out on a medal, and we're going to talk to both of them about their Olympic journeys. Gagan, let me start with you because you've sort of seen the transition of Indian sport from Athens, which was your first Olympics, to London, where we sort of, completely dominated in terms of our medal contenders going into the Olympics, winning 6 medals. And yet at Athens, when we had first gone there, we were hoping who could win an Olympic medal.
Yes, Athens was my first Olympics. Like a kid in a toy store, when you go to your first Olympics, because the experience is absolutely wonderful. It's memorable. You see legends that you've always read about and always seen on television or newspapers, and here you are looking at them live in front of you, seeing what they're doing, eating with them, going to the gym with them. It's a very unique experience. Of course, I was better prepared in Beijing, but luck was not on my side, and I got third time lucky. So yes, it's been a memorable experience.
Okay, Joydeep, while Gagan had won all the big medals, so to say, heading into those London Games, for you, I got a feeling that that the Indian sporting ecosystem at that time only backed the established champions. For you, it was a struggle even to get there.
See, it was definitely a lot of struggle even before I joined the Indian team. But I think that's a part and parcel of any athlete's journey. I'm sure that Gagan might have gone through all these, maybe a little different in different ways. I think everybody has gone through it. So I don't think it's out of the box to face any difficulties in any athletic career. But when I went into the system, I thought, yeah, there was a lot of support from many people, and definitely things opened up for me. It was not then, of course, nowadays I would say it's much more, welcoming for the shooters. Much supporting system is there. Yeah, it was a little less, but I think that is how it is.
Okay, but Gagan, for all of us who've been closely involved with sport, we see the other side, which is the hours and hours of training, the self-doubt. For you, it was your third Olympics, and they say that the Olympics can break you. Not everyone who goes to the Olympics wins a medal, and the Olympics can break you. For you, especially Athens and Beijing, you were in contention to be an Olympic finalist and perhaps go on and win a medal. But that final hurdle, there was a couple of things which pulled you back. But what we all didn't see, and a lot of people didn't read about till much later, was the kind of personal turmoil you had to go through, both on the professional front and also in terms of your relationships within your family when you came back from Beijing without a medal.
The struggle was definitely there. I had my parents to look after. My mom and dad both suffered after the loss in Beijing, because as an athlete, you're not the only one competing. Your whole support system around you, your friends, your family, everyone is involved for the last 8 years. I mean, for anyone, the Olympic cycle is for 4 years, but the preparation for those 4 years is been for the last 12 years. From the time you start, from your first shot, you dream about the Olympics. And to get to your first Olympics, it's a 4-year Olympic cycle, but it's a lifetime for an athlete and their family. So, parents these days and in my time, put in everything that they had to kind of support me and get me there. So for me, missing out on Athens by 1 point, 593, I shot 594, was in the final. In Beijing, 595, I shot 595, was in the final. 596, won a gold medal. And in London, I couldn't afford another shock. So it was a very strange and unique situation where I had to tell my parents that, look, I'm not going to win any medal. Take it easy. I'm still going to be your son if I don't win a medal. But internally, I wanted to win that medal. So there was a conflict in my mind as well. At one point of time, I knew that they wouldn't be able to handle another shock, and I was trying to comfort them and saying that it's okay if it doesn't happen. And on the other hand, I really wanted to win, and to keep that motivation up and going was a big challenge. And then everybody doubting you, everybody trying to put you down. So all these things they're a part and parcel of life and a part and parcel of sportsman's career. These were troubled times, and I think these are the experiences at the end of the day that make you stronger. It's like you need to put a brick in a kiln to kind of harden it. So these experiences obviously kind of helped me uh, harden myself and get to a stage where I could believe and kind of win that elusive medal, which was the best outing for the Indians at the Olympics till date.
Yes, I remember even, Gagan, that you sort of went into a shell that last 1 year, no distractions, didn't, speak to the media or anyone else. Joydeep, you were around him in the national camps just that 1 year before the Olympics. Was he like that with you as well, or it was rather much more a normal Gagan which you saw in national camps, or was he as intense and as focused as he was with us?
See, Digvijay, what I have seen Gagan from very close, and I have seen one of the best athletes with the best attitude I've ever come across in my career. I would say in every athletic field, I would say. He was very, cool, carefree. He didn't bother much about many things, about, I think, results. I don't know about the like what he felt or what he thought from inside, but at least what showed was very different maybe then. If he would have been like uh, tensed or having some concealing some pain inside him, but it didn't showed because he was so positive about everything what he did, and the conviction, the level of conviction he had on everything what he did, I think set him apart from every other shooters in that field.
Okay, well, that was about Gagan, but Joydeep, for you, let's be fair. You were a very happy-go-lucky chap, and everyone sort of thought that you were an Olympic tourist. You were going to have fun, and nobody gave you a chance in hell. When did you start perhaps believing that you can do some serious damage at the Olympics?
Honestly speaking, when I got to know about the news that I'm going to Olympics, I think you were one of the first to inform me. In fact, uh, about I think in February 2012, I knew somehow that I might make an impact. When I met my coach first, I think in London, not during the Olympics, I think 2 or 3 months before Olympics, he told me that our target will be to place you um, in the 50% of the higher group. Maybe there were 56 starts, I don't remember. So you'll be somewhere around 27 or 28th position will be good enough for you. But that day I knew that I'm going to break his game as well. I want to be definitely inside the top bracket of maybe 10 or something like that. Of course, I was not looking or not going for a medal, and in any competition, rather to say, actually, I don't go for medals. I always wanted to give my best. It is not about what I get, but it was all about what I give.
And Gagan, isn't that the beauty of the Olympic Games? That, there is athletics, there is swimming with the sort of medal favorite before the Olympics, and they go in and usually they're the one who win the medals. But the beauty of the Olympics, especially in your sport, and you had seen the varied nature of your sport, which is such a fickle sport, where even one shot can see you suddenly go from nowhere right to the top or make you crash down. And we've seen it at the Olympics itself with Matthew Emmons in 2004 and 2008 itself.
Everybody thought that Joydeep was someone that was not serious, but believe me, he was probably more serious than anyone else. And like he said, the conviction that he had in him was, externally, that's the beauty of him. He is always joyful, like his name, and very cheerful. So it kind of misleads you in thinking that you're not serious. And same goes with me, because that's the notion that everyone had, that Gagan and Joydeep are probably not serious. And you yourself know that going into the Olympics in London, me and Joydeep were not the favorites. There were other favorites because of me not performing in Beijing, and Joydeep coming in last moment, had a couple of months only to prepare for it. So we were not the favorite. It's only after uh, uh, I was in the finals that I became everyone's favorite. It was his experience and the grey hair that he has that kind of put him in the right seat in the London Olympics. And of course, like I said, fourth position is the worst position ever to be in. And I can only imagine what he must have gone through, because ना तो आप जीतते हो और ना ही आप बहुत दूर हो, तो आप it looks like an excuse. So it always hurts. But from someone whose coach believed that he would finish 27th, to prove him wrong, to prove all of us that yes, someone in prone can also go into an Olympic final, I think definitely was a motivation to a lot of prone shooters.
Absolutely. And when you talk about how fickle one shot can be, I'm remembered about your qualification, Gagan, because even Joydeep and I, we both were mentioning how you were so focused. You went in, started very well, then there was a minor blip when you shot a 98, and then you sort of remembered going back to the previous Olympic campaigns that you had. Is that the biggest amount of pressure? Your mind is telling you that you're ready, but also there's self-doubt at the back. Talk to me about that qualifying, because you qualified with what, 598 out of 600?
I told myself in competition that no matter what, I will not start until I kind of settle down. And during that time, at 9 o'clock, the qualification started, and by 9:36, I was probably still shooting my sighters, whereas the other shooters were in their 15th shot or 20th shot and finished 2 series. And when I looked behind, nobody was standing behind me. So I was like, okay, that's fine, because there are other favorites that people are standing behind. So yeah, that was perfectly all right. And then I said, okay, I felt settled down. I started my competition, and I shot 200s. Then 98 was my third series. And after the second 9, I realized that my position wasn't right, and my floor was kind of little sleepy. So my position of the right leg kind of moved, and I started to sway. So I kind of caught myself and went back out, took a break, spoke to my coach at that point of time, kind of recomposed myself, and then shot 300s. And I told myself on that 40th shot, very interestingly, I would like to share that in Athens, my fourth series, one shot went into an 8.9. And in Beijing, again, in my fourth series, another shot went into an 8.9, which costed me the Olympics. So the fourth series was a nightmare for me. And every shot of that fourth series in London, I told myself that, you can't afford another 9. And every shot was haunting कि मैं फिर से कहीं 8.9 ना मार दूं, because that was so strongly instilled in my mind. I had to train specially for the fourth series. It was a nightmare. If you remember, everybody was wondering my last shot I shot when I had 17 seconds on the clock. So I think you were quite nervous at that point of time. You were behind me, and anyway, that shot. And for a good half an hour, I didn't come out of the range because I knew I had to go to the mix zone, and I'm going to be bombarded with questions. So that is something that I wanted to completely avoid. So I went into the toilet and shut myself down for a good half an hour until the crowds disappeared, and then quietly walked alone to the final hall and got training for the finals.
But Gagan, you negotiated that final pretty well. It was a pretty high-scoring final. But when you stood on that podium finally with that Olympic medal around your neck, what was that feeling going through your mind? Was it one of satisfaction, or was it one of, thank God it's over?
It was all the emotions that a 14-year-old boy in 1997 started with his first shot. So the whole journey kind of was going through my mind as to what all things that had gone through my mind. I was happy that, okay, at least my parents won't be in a shock. That was the first thing that came to my mind. And then it was a sigh of relief that, yes, finally, I mean, if you see my video, I was seeing the medal and I was like, okay, this is the thing that I have been working for so hard. So, it was a great sigh of relief. And yes, there were a lot of critics. I was happy that I could prove them wrong. And and kind of use that motivation to kind of stir that performance, and a lot of sigh of course, definitely relief, definitely satisfaction and gratitude towards everyone who's been supporting me and God Almighty.
But Joydeep, when you look back at your competition, which was a few days later, Gagan mentioned about it, about how you qualified, then you had to go through a tight shoot. I remember I was at Wembley for Saina Nehwal's semi-final, and then drove across London to get to the shooting barracks where your competition was being held. I actually went through your final preparing for this interview, and there, I don't think you could have shot better.
It is always about the almost, but not the most. So I have come definitely with terms with the situation, and I think I was not destined to be even in the fifth position. Maybe I was destined to be in the fourth position. And yeah, though you don't win a medal there, but you don't lose heart as well. You get to learn a lot of things, but uh, you know, in reality, what happens is that when you see others getting the medal, and then you realize what you have missed. It is an Olympic medal. Like uh, I, I mentioned that you slip from the first position to the second position. You slip from the second to the third. But when it comes to the third to fourth position, you actually fall off a cliff. It is an abysmal cliff. The affection, the respect, and the love I got from everybody, even after not winning a medal, I think that was very special. I am really, really, grateful to people who were there. You were there outside the range, who actually welcomed me like a medalist, I would say. I didn't realize for one moment after coming out of the range that I didn't win a medal. Everybody was like, congratulating me, hugging me, giving me solace that, yeah, you haven't won the medal, but then you have won our hearts. That's what I remember.
And Joydeep, you and Vijay Kumar were close friends, remain close friends. And just after your competition, he went on and won a silver medal for India in the men's rapid fire pistol. And it was perhaps that he was, again, as Gagan also was saying earlier in this conversation, he was completely under the radar, but it was that army discipline and focus that kept him on track.
Yes, it actually, this comes very vividly again to me that day, and it was wonderful. In fact, like even after I lost the bronze, when I went there for the medal ceremony, when I saw him take the silver medal, it was a mixed emotion. I was very happy for him. I was very happy for my contingent, my team. But at the same time, then actually I realized that what I missed. And then actually I broke down.
Yeah, but that's something, as you said, ultimately no regrets. Gagan, put this in perspective, because we had been winning medals now at the Olympics, especially when I'm talking about his Indian shooting from 2004 with Colonel Rathore down to Abhinav and then you. But this is for the first time that India won 2 medals in shooting at the same games. Also, you had seen the sort of transition that we were going into Olympics mostly largely self-driven, but here a sort of system was coming into place. Competition was increasing back home, and when competition increased back home, obviously the scores sort of rose as well.
So he was very determined and very focused to prove himself to people. And me and Vijay were roommates for the first 4 or 5 days in the games village, because when you enter the games village, everyone's looking for a single room so that they have their own mental calm and peace. But because everyone enters the village on the first day or a couple of weeks, 15 days before, so we had the scarcity of rooms. So me and Vijay were sharing rooms. But as far as the transition is concerned, I think there has been a huge support for the sport after Rathore winning, Abhinav winning, and a lot of funding coming to the sport, which kind of trickled down to a lot of athletes. And if you remember, we were training for the Commonwealth Games in 2010, and we had almost 250 to 300 days of rigorous training. And that also kind of set the pace rolling for our performances, which kind of trickled down till the 2012 Olympics, and everybody was highly motivated.
Gagan, hang on. If I could just interrupt, because that's a very important point you make, and it's a point which largely gets overshadowed. Winning medals at top competitions is always a sort of a momentum. Athens led into Beijing, and Beijing led into London. But as you said, it is the Commonwealth Games of 2010 which played a significant role in India's great medal show at London.
Yes, I was coming to that, but you broke in between. But like I said, that set the pace rolling, and the kind of freedom and the momentum we got. I mean, that kind of set the performances going. Whether it was Sushil, whether it was Vijender, everybody is from the same school of training. I would say that momentum that was given at that point of time, that is really important, and that I think now with the current scenario with Khelo India coming up, with so many centers coming up. People getting the right kind of training down below is going to set the pace for the coming Olympics.
Both of you were sort of, even though you all were teammates, were sort of rivals when it came to prone. But today, both of you have different roles as well. Joydeep's mentoring new generation of shooters. Gagan, you started it immediately after the Commonwealth Games as well. Today, when you guys meet each other on a shooting range, you meet as coaches. Elavinil is someone you are mentoring. Gagan, Mehuli Ghosh is someone Joydeep is mentoring and both shoot the same event. Do you guys both laugh, Joydeep, when you meet each other, looking at the situation, how you both have transitioned?
When we started, we had no knowledge. We would see top shooters from other countries. We would watch them. We would see them shoot. We would try to learn. We would see Martinov, shooting an old rifle. We had latest Leica weapons. We would wonder what's going on. And then there's this guy who's coming, very slowly into the range, shooting 600 like it was a piece of cake, and then wins the medal and goes away. So we were kind of figuring out what's happening and what do we do. We were kind of figuring out whether we can chip an empty from him or a box of cartridges to kind of figure out whether it's the cartridge or whether it is the rifle. But ultimately it was the man behind the weapon, and that kind of knowledge is now coming back into the system through ex-shooters like Suma, like Dipali, like Mansher, like Jaspal, like Joy, and so many others, that it's really setting the pace for the future.
It is that that hunger in as an athlete we really want to give it back now, so that nobody suffers like us. So that is something like motivated us to help the next generation. And I think this is very important that we are athletes. We have got amazing shooters, winners, like been there, done that kind of guys who are like coming into the system and giving it back to the young shooters. So what else can we expect from the system now? And I think it is also good for the National Rifle Association to seriously think about these ex-shooters who have been phenomenal in their own career, now actually bringing those people into the system, making them coach, giving them positions of coach, high performance managers. I think that is making a difference, and that is the future of Indian shooting. And that is the reason that even we being like, veteran shooters, we respect the young chaps nowadays.
Okay, thank you so much. Let's see how Tokyo unfolds. Thank you so much for your time. London 2012 was special for all of us who were there, not just for those of you who were competing. And it sort of showed Indian sport and the Indian Indian sports ecosystem that Indian sportspersons had broken the shackles of self-doubt. Thank you so much, Gagan Narang. Thank you so much, Joydeep Karmakar.
WION Broadband Olympic Edition, partnered by Kia Sonet, Wild by Design. Get ready for a new level of wild. Poker Stars, India's home of online poker.